Hey, are you thinking about starting your own podcast? Well, if you're listening to mine, you know I'm brand new to all this and I couldn't have done it without Anchor. And if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. First off, it's free. No monthly fees, no yearly fees, no one-time fee. It's all free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And then Anchor distributes it automatically. So you'll be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I'm on all of them. And this is the catch. There's no minimum listenership. So I'm recording this ad right now. This is going into my episodes. Every time someone listens to it, I'm getting paid. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hey everyone, it's Josh. I just want to take a quick second to say if you're enjoying the podcast, please like, subscribe, rate, or comment. All of those things help out tremendously. It helps me get better sponsorships, helps me get better guests. I'm able to take this on the road, more consistent video, so many different things. It's all free. So please take a second to help support me by liking, subscribing, commenting, or rating. Also, if you want, there's a donation button. I don't expect anything, but even like 99 cents, there's a couple different options a month. Helps so much. Thank you and enjoy the episode.
This is Annastacia Monroe of the Dream Masons, and you're listening to the Just Josh podcast.
Welcome back into the podcast. Today is episode 9. We have Annastacia Monroe from the Dream Masons calling in, and we get into a lot of different things, her experiences with peer pressure and drugs. We talk a little bit about politics and kind of how it's hard not being a Democrat in kind of a more liberal industry. And we also world premiere their new single, Lily of the Valley, from the Dream Masons. It's an amazing tune. Her vocals really stand out. The whole band's great. Just talented people. So enjoy that, and I'll see you after the episode.
Welcome to the Just Josh podcast.
Who the fuck is this guy? Hey, who the fuck are you? Huh? Who the fuck are you?
This whole thing's a little weird.
Never yet fear, laddie buck.
Hey, welcome into the podcast. Today we have Annastacia Monroe on the phone. How's it going?
Hey, pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much. So Annastacia is a singer-songwriter. She's also the front woman of the Dream Masons, which is a great band. I really love your music, and that's actually how I heard about you and started talking to you is through the Dream Masons.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty fun.
Tell me how Dream Masons formed and a little bit about yourselves and the kind of music that you guys do.
So the Dream Masons formed when I was actually recording my first EP, which is on Spotify. It's the only EP on Spotify right now. The other one is not released. But so I was recording Better Late Than Never at Mohawk Studios in Huron at the time, which is just a little bit outside of, well, it's closer, it's right smack dab in the middle of, like, I would say Toledo and Cleveland. Huron. It's a little tiny place.
Oh, okay.
And I was recording my EP there, and from the other room I had heard someone just like absolutely laying it down, like shredding on a guitar. And I asked the studio engineer like what was going on in the other room, and he was like, "Oh, that's Eric." And I was like thinking, I wonder if it's like the Eric, because I knew of an Eric in the area who was just like really, 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 really good. And there was like a lot of talk about how good his guitar skills were, I guess, technique. I'm not sure what word I would use.
But he was well known locally for his skills and stuff like that.
Yes,
recording.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I went over and I was like, "Hey, do you happen to be like the Eric?" He's like, "I don't know what that means."
The
but I'm
Eric.
Yeah.
It's funny.
So yeah, we shook hands, and then I showed him my EP, and he's like, "Oh, that's cute." And it was a really girly, really feminine project at the time. And then he was like, "Well, maybe we could make some music together." And I thought, okay, whatever, cool. And I never talked to him or thought about it or even like made any attempts to reach out until about 2 weeks later. We ran into each other at a local bar, and I was playing pool, and I saw him out, and he was like, "Okay, you never even looked me up. Like, I'm getting your number right now, and we're going to be like a week." And then, like, sure enough, he definitely pulled up, and we wrote some songs that day. I think like a week from there, like he was really determined to like get something going, and I'm really grateful for that, because at the time I actually wasn't really into music as much. I really seriously thought I was going to be an actress or something. So I'm really grateful that he kind of like dragged me into music writing, like seriously.
Yeah. You had mentioned that theater and stuff like that was something you were really big into, which kind of combines the acting and the singing.
Right. Yeah. I was really into it for a while. Not so much anymore now. I would always love to do film acting, but I don't know how much I would enjoy theater.
Yeah, I mean,
After being in a rock band, I'm just like,
right. That's something I've always kind of wanted to get into or thought about getting into. And you could honestly, I don't think in movies these days it's necessarily always about looks. It's really about the role. So if you can find
Right.
roles that fit your needs and your style, just like singing, like when you're singing and you're singing within your range. So you might not be the best actor, but you could get a lot of nice supporting roles. Like I've always wanted to be that really well-known B actor that got all the really great like side roles, but everyone knew who he was, you know.
I think for me, I've always liked acting just because of like the emotions that you're able to tap into. It's like a kind of catharsis or expression.
Mm-hmm. I also wonder, and you know, when we talk about like Heath Ledger and other people that have done these really serious roles and it's affected them, I've always wondered because even when I'm sitting here like watching a TV show, and let's say I get affected by it, like I was watching some earlier that really got me not upset, but I was sad. It was like a happy sad, you know, you're like crying because something like happy happened. And I'm like, well, if I have to tap in, you know, because as an actor, you have to tap into those feelings and you really have to kind of convey those. I'm not the type of actor that could just fake it. I would actually have to like think about something serious and really draw from those emotions to pull it off. And I just don't know if mentally I could do it. You know, I feel like it would take a lot out of you. And then also when you get behind the production of movies, because they all look so great when it's all edited together, but then there's a lot of hours of sitting around, there's multiple takes, like all these other things that factor into, you know, making the movie look good. And it's just I don't know, it's something I've always wanted to do, but I also can see how stressful that could be too. So it's like, be careful what you wish for. Yeah, on one hand, you like the thought of being famous, or not even being famous, but doing roles and acting and having that aspect because you like that. But then it's like there's always a price to pay, and the same's with music too.
Especially like in the beginning, I did go to film acting school for a minute there when I was in my, I don't know, right after high school, I guess. So yeah, I did go to film school for a minute, and it's a lot of hustle, like to get a job, and especially I'm from Cleveland. We actually have a pretty decent like commercial outreach. Like if you want to do a commercial, there's several agencies that I know at least like 7 people that have gotten commercial acting jobs, which is a lot when you think about it.
There's
Considering
a ton.
I could be out in the middle of like Southern Ohio in the middle of nowhere where I have to drive like hours to go to the next agency or whatever.
Right.
But Cleveland's actually got a lot of that going for it, but it's a hustle.
Right.
It's a lot of work. You constantly have to, and you know, you usually have a day job, and it's not like, I mean, I'm sure it's just as hard in LA, if not more, because there's more competition, but there's less jobs here, which is the difference.
As I get older, you know, I smoke a little weed and I'll drink here and there, but certainly not as much as when I was younger. But being in the music industry and also touring and traveling, there's a lot of that.
Well, so it's just like what you said. Actually, I was really a pretty goody two-shoes until I was like 18. I didn't want to, like, honestly, I'm not even lying here. I really didn't want to let my parents down. So until I was 18, a legal adult, I didn't experiment with anything. I didn't do drugs. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke cigarettes. None of that. I was just like, I just wanted to be well behaved and not get in trouble and not honestly, just disappoint them. That was like a scary idea.
Mm-hmm.
But then I turned 18 and I was like, hey, I'm my own legal responsibility now. You know, my choices are mine. And I wanted to like, I don't know, get drunk. I wanted to try to get drunk. So I started hanging out with my friends, getting drunk a little bit here and there when I was 18. And it immediately became something that I wouldn't say like crave like an alcoholic, but I would just like look forward to that more than a lot of other activities and like a lot of other hobbies that I had. Namely because I I've been an insomniac since I was a child. Like my whole life, I have been an insomniac, and
It's funny you say that because I am too. So I'm probably one of the only people that sees your posts at like 3 a.m. Because
Right.
I'm up too doing the same thing.
Yeah. So when I would party or drink, I would sleep so good, and I would wake up like not even hungover. I would be like, I have not slept like that ever in my life. Like it's crazy. Nowadays, you know, the older you get hangovers and they're bad, and you don't.
Yeah.
It's not the same kind of
Ugh.
sleep at all. Your body's just like, why are you doing this to me? But
Yeah.
so you know, we drank a lot back then. I didn't even smoke weed until I was like 21 because again, I was a little nervous about the legal aspect. I've always been kind of nerdy in that regard, and
Right.
then I ended up dating somebody who I like really respected, who was a very hard worker and an amazing, phenomenal, brilliant artist. And they smoked weed, and they were functioning, beautiful, wonderful human beings. So I was like, you know what? Pass that over here.
Yeah.
If you can do it, I want to try it. And weed actually was amazing. Like that helped take a lot of the edge off of like relying on alcohol to sleep. Dude, when I first smoked weed, oh my God, I could sleep. I got giggly. It was funny. And I was able to like cut my drinking in half by then. Because at that point, I think like, sorry, Mom or Dad, if you are listening, but I'm pretty sure I drank every single day just to sleep. Probably like at least a 6-pack a day. And I was like 20. That's horrible. That's really bad.
I've admitted some things on here just because you get in conversation, you don't think about it. And I forgot that my dad and mom listen, so they probably have heard some things that they didn't know. But well, no, I mean, I think the one thing about my parents that they've always been very supportive and understanding. And even when they've yelled at me or punished me, I think deep down they've always been like, you know, he's just a kid or whatever. You know, I don't think they ever took it too to heart. But yeah, go ahead.
Weed helps. And as for your question about being on the road, I think like, so I went through this period of time when like I started smoking weed and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I don't want to drink as much. And like, I definitely stopped drinking every day. But then, you know, you have these goals. You have this type of person that you want to be in your mind, and you have the reality of who you actually are.
Right.
And the person that I wanted to be drank even less than the person that I was. Namely, that is because being on the road, being at band practice where everyone's drinking, and then going to work where everyone's drinking, and being expected to do shots if people buy them, or, you know, going out and playing a show and just like not even knowing how to start sober because it's scary, and like you've done it for so long one way, you know, and people, you know, every bar that you play at or every venue will give you guys drink chips unless they are rude, and then they won't. But so you have like your options of free things are usually like a couple items off the menu and then free drinks, and you're like, all right, well,
or like
what if I want free ice cream or something?
But, or like fans. The hardest thing for me is that when I was working merch, fans would come up and get you drinks and buy you drinks or bring you shots and without asking. And you don't want to be rude, so you're just like, yeah, thank you so much. And then you're 8 shots in, you're like, man. And that's why I just finally said, you know, I just won't drink, you know, during work.
Right. It's like trying to be on a diet and then having people constantly around you with like cake and delicious chocolates and things, and you're supposed to say no over and over again, and it's just like a little exhausting. But I was able to kind of rein it in at least a little, at least in my personal life. Still, like the concept of playing a show stone sober is scary. I don't think I have done that, and I'm not sure what I will. But I'm not drinking. I don't drink on stage anymore. I watched some videos of the band in like 2016, and I had my beer on stage, and I was like, ooh, that's so tacky. Like,
it is different.
Tacky.
Yeah, for sure. I noticed that the more serious you get about it, the less people are drinking. Like even the big bands, like they might have a solo cup once in a while or some waters, but I don't even see them drinking on stage. A lot of these bands, because they're so into their set, and they probably spend a ton of money on lights and different things like that. It's like if we're out there drunk and we're not giving the best show, like drink before and drink after, but I just feel like it's almost a distraction.
I managed like on accident, you know. I don't think I set out to just be like hammered at a show, but I ended up getting drunk at 2 shows in my whole what 5 years of being in the Dream Masons, and they're like stained in my memory, and I will never forget that. And I'm just like bummed out that I wasn't able to be 100%. I mean, the audience didn't notice. They had fun. We all had fun. But like when I look back at it and remember, like, oh shit, like I hardly remember that show. Like it's shameful, and it's just like that's not what I want to do or be anymore. And so luckily, I've been able to have some boundaries for myself in my personal life. Without touring, I only drink. I try to drink 2 or 3 days a week max, and I limit how much I drink every day that I do. I really don't drink at practice unless it's like, all right, we're just sticking around.
Right.
Because my band practices twice a week, so it can get a little serious, and you do kind of want to lighten it a little bit, so you're not just like constantly grinding.
Right.
If you practice like 8 hours a week, plus you play in a show on the weekends, and you have day jobs, it's just like, oh my God. I was able to cut down a lot, and it's just like it's been great. Like, just feel healthier, and I'm still not where I want to be. I want to be the kind of person that drinks like maybe 2 days a week, or maybe just on holidays. That would be awesome. But
Yeah.
it's just around all the time, and I'm not sure if I'm ready yet, or I don't know how to like constantly say no. It's just like hard. I'm not sure how.
Yeah, I think the one thing when you're saying it's constantly hard to say no, I think it's hard to say no if the people around you don't support you. Like, okay, ask or offer, but if the no is said, then that needs to be it. And then it needs to be supported instead of feeling guilty, because I think that guilt is really what kind of traps you. We were talking a little bit about weed too, and to me, it's always been one of those things where it was never about the high for me. It was always about the other aspects of weed, which is the anxiety and the depression and the calmness. And for years, I've been trying to get my parents on CBD, trying to switch them over to CBD instead of using like my mom. When she lost her mom, I know she was really upset, and that really affected her to the point where she had really bad depression moving forward. And so she used to take Zoloft and stuff like that. And now, now I have
so
her
interesting.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's mind-boggling to me that our parents' generation. I mean, not all my parents, but I'm just saying their generation is so much more keen to take a prescription medication where they don't understand what's in it. They probably don't know what's in it, and there's complex chemical whatever made in a lab by somebody, and then they would more likely take that than smoke weed. And it's like, oh, that's for potheads or kids or teenagers or young people or losers or lazy people.
Yeah,
like,
it's that.
I just wish people had a different approach, because I truly don't look at weed like that. I mean, I think everything can be abused. You can get stoned out of your mind if you wanted, but
obesity, that's the same thing. You're still abusing something, no matter what it is, And the same with my parents is that they're they fluctuate in weight now that they're older. They're not in the best shape, and it's funny because they'll look at weed as being a bad thing. Now my parents are a little bit cooler about it. Like, obviously I'm at an age where I can do whatever I want. So it's not like they're not gonna hold that against me. But at the same time, it's just weird to me how for so long they were so resistant, and then finally one of my mom's friends who's older, around their age, said that she uses CBD and it helps so much with the arthritis and everything. So my mom finally asked me to get it for her, and I'm like, wait, it took someone else telling you that it works and it helps, as opposed to listening to me. And on one hand, you want to be upset and be like, well, I wouldn't steer you wrong. Like, why is my word any less than someone else's? But then at the same time, I'm just really happy that it does work for her, and she has been using it, and hopefully it's something that she can kind of get off. Now, she only wants to take it until she can get to the point that her arthritis is better and her knees are better. But I'm like, Mom, once you stop, it's just going to be like before. You might as well just, if you need it, just keep taking it. And it does so many different things. So I really feel like when it comes to drugs, weed isn't one of those. It's one of the ones, you could abuse it. But, I mean, even if you abuse it, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to get stoned out of your mind and just fall asleep. Yeah. I mean,
I know, it's so funny.
And I'm even surprised that there aren't more driving accidents where people fall asleep at the wheel. But usually if you're smoking, you're going out like that, you're not blitzed out of your mind.
If you're that stoned, you're usually not going to make it to your car. You're just going to be like, I'm just staying.
Exactly.
What do I need? Toilet paper? I got napkins.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're that high,
But yeah, drugs and alcohol and different things are certainly, and we've seen it so many times with musicians, and so it's
luckily I'm grateful though. My band, especially this past year, we've come to the agreement that we're not going to drink more than one beverage before we go on. No one wants to be drunk. We're not going to have any alcohol on the stage. We can get that like pre-show little tiny buzz going or whatever, but
Right.
we're just like, we've made some boundaries as a band as well. And then also I'm very grateful because, you know, I try not to police people. I try not to mother people, but, so I let my band do what they want when we're on tour. Like, I'm not going to yell at you. I'm not here to be your parent. And we happened to be in New York and we were offered a bunch of Coke while we were at one of the shows at one of the venues. They were like, all right, guys, keep doing a great job. We got some lines in the back, an eighth, and a 12-pack of beer, whatever, and like in the green room. And I know.
Damn, I've never gotten that.
Yeah, immediately.
I probably shouldn't say this, but I kind of wish I've gotten out for that, but we never got it. Go ahead.
They were so cool. It was really awesome. They were really chill. But immediately 3 members of the band, including myself, were like, no thanks on the Coke. Like, we're not going to do some Coke.
Right.
And then the other 2 people that were there with us really, really thought about it for a minute and then decided against it. And so I'm just grateful that my band members don't indulge in hard drugs on the road that we might. I mean, our merch girl dabbled into it. I'm not going to go into it any more than that because I don't know if she would be happy with me talking about it on the air. But but my immediate bandmates just decided, you know what, like one of them was going to. And then they were like, oh, I got to think about my family. I don't want to get into this right now. Never mind. It's just not worth it. And I was like, sweet. We can all like be level and I don't have to worry about anybody. Like, even if they did, I wouldn't have said anything. So I wasn't going to stop them. But I was like, cool. Right. We're all on the same page. Like, that's good.
I mean. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we've done plenty of LSD as a group, but Coke is a totally different element.
Yeah. I'm very lucky that, again, in my lifetime, I stayed away from hard drugs, never gotten to heroin or anything like that. And I've seen so many people that have, and even Coke and stuff. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I haven't done it before, because honestly, if I'm on vacation or I have no responsibilities and someone hands me something as far as like maybe a joint or alcohol or even a line or something like that, and it's free, honestly, I'll probably do it just to be social. But it's never been something that's controlled my life or affected me, and I'm so grateful too, because again, it's so easy to get caught up in that stuff. It's just never been my thing. I've always been a sports guy and someone that, again, to me, weed isn't on that same level, and there's so many things that can benefit from.
In 2018, I was really sick, and I was listening to some YouTube videos, and one of them was about
sick as in ill.
Yeah, I was really sick. Like I had the flu or something, so I was in bed. And so I was listening to a bunch of meditative videos. I was reading on Facebook. One of my friends had started meditating, and it was, you know, non-religious or anything. It was just a guided meditation to help you work with your breathing and stuff like that. And I was just super out of it. So I was just letting these meditation videos just like keep playing, even though I wasn't meditating. I was just like listening, but I didn't want to get up and change it. And then after a few of those played, this video came on about the Tao. And I immediately was like, I need to turn this off, because I don't want to be one of those white girls who is like, I'm into Eastern religion and I'm like so cool. So I was like, I don't want to like culture appropriate or whatever. Like, this is probably something I shouldn't, I should just skip or whatever. Right. But I kept listening to it and it was really compelling. And I was like, I don't want to be one of those people that's like drawn to a weird religion. Like, everybody goes through their Wiccan phase. I don't want to embarrass myself with like an Eastern religion phase. Like, I don't want to do it, but I couldn't help it. I was so moved and just spent the next 5 hours listening to various videos about the Tao. And I started doing some disciplines immediately and some meditation. I don't know if you know anything about the Tao, but it's more of a philosophy than a religion. You can apply the Tao to any religion or none. And it's really centered around discipline.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what is it's spelled Tao, but it's pronounced Tao?
Yeah.
With like a D?
Yeah, It's a weird thing. I don't know why they did it, but I guess.
I see the word so much, but, you know, I've never really put it into context or what it means. So this is really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I could spend the next, I don't know, 4 hours talking about the semantics of it and like the rules or actually there's not a lot of rules, which is one of the reasons it's great. It doesn't have a lot of dogma the way other religions do because it's more of a philosophy, but
right.
That alone just blew my mind. It changed the way I saw everything. And one of the main things also about the Tao, one of the main rules is that you're not supposed to preach about it. Like they say, those who know don't talk, and those who talk don't know.
Right.
So you're really supposed to keep the Tao to yourself and let other people experience it. So I'm not going to get into it too much, but I just wanted to state that it really changed the way I saw things, and it made me see more of what I wanted from my life, and that I could take control of my life, as well as that I could just enjoy the flaws of my life or the flaws of living, because it's all part of the yin and the yang. You know, you have good and bad, and you're not supposed to really worry about either one. You're just supposed to experience. You're just supposed to witness.
Right. And that's so true in life too.
Yeah. And then once I started doing that, so many things just started happening. Like I made a lot of connections. Like my life I reflected the concept of the Tao, which is that life is easy, or that like when you relax about things, you'll get into sort of like a flow.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up meeting you that year. I met Duddy, played the House of Blues for the first time, found an investor who paid for half of the Dream Masons' latest EPs that we're working on right now.
I love Duddy. I need to get him on here. I've been trying to get him on here, but he's
MIA. He's such a goofball. He's so crazy. But
we've talked about this before. It's just that I love him to death, and I wish I got to talk to him more. He's such a good kid.
Yeah, he's fun. I like him. I feel like Duddy naturally flows with the Tao. Like he's one of the most relaxed, chill, laid back. Like let it happen. Whatever happens, it's gonna happen for people I've ever met. It's really funny.
Yeah, no, he's awesome. Hopefully one day you'll have to bug him for me. I know he's busy. I've seen him doing a couple shows, so I'm glad he's out there doing some stuff. That's what I want.
Last I heard, he was trying to get into a Vegas lineup as well, so he might be pretty busy with that.
Oh, yeah. I think he was trying to get into Reggae Rise Up Vegas or something like that.
Yeah.
He'd be perfect for that.
So, yeah, I mean, once I embraced the Tao, a lot of things happened. I was just presented with new opportunities, but also new challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And about 6 months later, I was hanging out with some people at the farmhouse, which is where the Dream Masons practice, and a group of people there had just finished a DMT trip, and they were sharing their experiences.
Is that where I hung out with you guys, or is that a different place?
Nope, that's where you were.
Okay, that seemed like a farmhouse. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like half in the farm, half in the suburbs. It's really weird. They built a cul-de-sac neighborhood around an apple orchard. So it's like 13 acres of apple orchard, and then like a cul-de-sac neighborhood, like McMansions and stuff. It's very strange.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool though. It was dark, so I didn't really get to see everything. On the next day, I was pretty hungover driving home, but
yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, there was a group of people there sharing their experiences after having just finished the DMT trip, and I was fairly naive about DMT because I had already experienced acid, and I had become really interested in acid. It changed. It opened my perspective. It allowed a deeper intellectual experience of my own spirituality and stuff like that. And it was really a great propeller for creativity in regards to music and painting, especially. Like, I swear to God, I just did LSD once and then I learned to paint. I have no idea. And now I don't know how to not paint. Like, it's very strange. I've never considered myself a painter. I've never considered myself very good at it. But, like, after that, I don't know, it just, like, opened a place in my brain and I was able to see things differently. So my naive self was like, oh, DMT, this is sweet. Like, I want to have a deeper spiritual experience. And then everyone there was like, no, you don't understand. It's, like, the real deal. I was like, sure, I've done acid before. Like, I can handle myself. Because I can usually handle myself better than these guys when I'm on acid. Like, these guys were the type of people who would, like, stare at a brownie mix for 4 hours and not remember that they were trying to make brownies or whatever. Whereas I'm usually fairly functional. like functional enough to write violin pieces or paint, I don't know, oil paintings and stuff when I'm on acid. So I considered myself somewhat of a pro,
Yeah.
which was my mistake. Bad, hubris, bad. So
Yeah.
they were really serious about it. They explained that it's a sacrament, it's not a party drug, and it's like a really deep religious experience, and that you don't seek out DMT like it comes to you. And I was like, well, it sounds like it came to me, because here I am, there's some DMT, let's do this. And they were like, I really think you should think about it. So I spent a whole 4 hours studying about DMT, which is not enough time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like, DMT is like losing your virginity, in that like once you do it, you can't undo it, and you should really make sure that you're in a place in your life where you want to do it, and you should make sure you're safe, and all those other
That's so
kind
true.
of rules that apply to losing your virginity. And
I've never thought about it like that. Now I probably won't. Now I can't not think about it like that.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I demanded that they let me do it and that they show me how. And
Mm-hmm.
so me and Hellinger, who's my guitarist for the Dream Mason, went upstairs, and I shouldn't say he's my guitarist. He's the guitarist. It's possessive and rude of me to
That's cool. It's your
describe that,
band. You can say my band and not mean it in a singularity way.
Right. And so we went upstairs. We did a meditation for like 30 minutes. I meditated silently while he prepared everything. And then we did a short prayer, and just trying to think positive thoughts and all those good things. And then I did the DMT, and I'm going to skip some of those details because I think it's different for everybody.
Right.
And I don't really want to scare anybody or project anything onto anybody.
Right.
But I will explain that after my trip, my trip was really bad. Actually, it was not fun. It was horrible.
I've had a bad one. I've had a bad one before.
Yeah, it was I've never had a bad acid trip.
Right.
I've always been able to like keep my shit together. But DMT was by far nothing like I had ever done before. You see things that you can never unsee, and you really truly do transport somewhere else. It's not like LSD where you kind of just see patterns overlaid over things. Like
Right.
DMT, you don't see reality anymore, and you see a totally new reality. And you don't really have a lot of control, at least I didn't, over what I was experiencing, and a lot of it was really, really horrific. And terrible. And but I saw a lot of interesting things. I saw a lot of my own past memories, and I felt like I was there for a really long time. But when I came out, it was just such the most profound experience. In a way, I felt like it validated a lot of my philosophical beliefs about the Tao. It kind of reinforced those ideas. And then finally, I would say that it cured me of my any suicidal thoughts or desires I had had.
Wow.
I was completely 100% like, and to this day, I'm not suicidal. Like after I experienced what I did, I don't know if you know anything about DMT, but you experience ego death, which is where you die, like your consciousness goes through a death, and that's why most people, when they first blast off, they pass out, they go unconscious for like a couple minutes,
right?
Because that's the part of your brain where you're experiencing an ego death, like a pseudo death.
I've only done like natural things in the sense. I've done acid, but that's it. I've actually never done DMT. I don't think.
I think
I've just done like shrooms, weed,
right?
You know.
Yeah. And DMT is so different. Like, definitely keep the rule in mind that it'll come to you when you're meant to do it. So I wouldn't necessarily seek it out. But then also, if like some of my friends wanted to do it, and I was like, no, baby, no. Like, you're not ready. You're still just doing ketamine and partying. Like, this is not that kind of drug. This is you die in this drug. Like, you experience death, and it's vivid, and you remember every second of it. So that is why I'm no longer suicidal, because I realized during my DMT trip, conceptually, everybody knows they're going to die, but like to realize that you're storyline that everything you're working on is gone. Your identity's gone. You're no longer male nor female once you die. You're like, your family is no longer your family. Like, you get
Right.
taken away from all of that. You were removed from your entire ego. Anything that defines you is stripped from you, to where you are just the consciousness experiencing without any mortal form. And it's like, I don't want to do that again. Not until I have to. And it really like helps me embrace the Tao even further. Once, I guess, the illusion of reality slipped away from my my being, I just started to realize that how everything's more connected, and I'm more connected to my fellow man, and I'm also more connected to even inanimate objects or trees or anything. Like, the fabric of reality is within everything, and so that really helps the Tao. Like me embrace the Tao and get even more serious about my disciplines, and I want to learn more about it. And I don't really know if I'll ever do DMT again. I don't think I need to, but it was I did not enjoy it, but I would never not do it. Like, I don't regret doing it, but I didn't have fun at all.
Speaking of your art, I've actually bought some of your art, and it's actually one of my favorite pieces. My two favorite pieces are a drum head that my friend Dan did, and he did the Ewoks from Star Wars playing instruments with with our company logo, and they're the cutest little things. And the fact that they're playing the drums, and he made the instruments look like things that they would have to build out of the stuff they had, so it wasn't like a drum set. It was like rocks and other stuff. It was really cute. And then your skulls. I'm a huge skull guy. I'm not like I'm not like
Gothic.
Yeah, I'm not like gothic or dark, but I really do love black and skulls. That's pretty much all I wear is a lot of black and a lot of skulls and stuff. I have this really cool skull banner that I had gotten for the background of this podcast for when we do the video when people are in the studio, but it was so distracting. My walls are so distracting to everyone that came in. So on the video, instead of looking at me, they're just looking around half the time and like talking about the room. And I'm like, we actually have to talk. We have to talk about something other than the room and what's on the walls, or people are not gonna want to listen to this. But
yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I love your art. And do you have any place that people, if they want, can go buy your art or at least look at it, maybe on Instagram or something like that?
I post a lot of my art on my Facebook page, which is Annastacia Monroe, I think.
Mm-hmm. Is that like a public kind of?
It's like a page. You know how they have like your
page or
personal
something
account?
like that.
Yeah, an artist
Okay,
page.
good. All right.
And then I also have an Etsy called Never Canvas. But honestly, I probably sell like one thing a year on Etsy, so I forget to check that. I guess I should start to check it more often.
You probably have like 10 now, and then people are like, "Where's the art?"
That's true. That's so true. I haven't checked it in like 4 months.
No, it's really cool. I bought one, and I think it was one of 3. Someone bought the other 2, and it sucks because I wanted to buy it from them. But I'll have to get you. I'll have to get you just to like do 2 other ones that kind of play off the one. I'm sure. I
did a Darkness series this year, and it was really hard.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I can do a Darkness series ever again. I wrote about that on my Facebook.
I must have missed it. Because I saw you do a couple more, maybe 1 or 2 more in that, and then I haven't seen anything in a while.
Yeah, this year,
as far as the skulls go.
Every Halloween I kind of do a Darkness series, mainly because at first I thought it was super cool, and I just was really feeling in a dark mood. And then I realized, damn, these sell really well. People love the macabre, and they love like creepy stuff. And so I sold a bunch of them, and so I decided to do a Darkness series every year. But this year, I swear to God, I'm not even kidding. Like, after doing DMT, like, I couldn't do it again. I couldn't make another Darkness series. I didn't feel it. I just wasn't into it. I don't know. I couldn't.
That's crazy how much your perspective changed from that experience to where, and now I'm really curious because I wonder if it's going to help me. And it's also, I remember what I was going to say before, because you talked a little bit, like you never felt suicidal. Did you have depression? Did you deal with anxiety and stuff like that before?
Not so much anxiety. During puberty, I had really bad anxiety, but I think the conclusion that I came to is that it was a combination of hormones, realizing my mortality the first time, that's when I was like 16. I was like, oh my God, I could die. Like, I never thought of that before in my life.
Right.
So I was just like, oh, everything could kill me. Like, I was very scared to like cross the street and weird shit like that. I was just like, and I think another medication I was on for ADHD was causing those like hyper intense anxiety. Because once I stopped taking that, and once I turned like about 18, a lot of that random phobia of the world kind of just went away. And I was very lucky to be spared of anxiety until, well, since I have it. But depression and self-loathing and, just really like, I mean, I do have ADD and I have a really hard time assimilating to the type of reality you need to function and succeed in this society. Like, for example, I have a job. I'll make the money to pay my bills, but I'm so distracted I won't remember to pay them. Then I owe double, and then I have bad credit, or I'm up all night painting because I'm an insomniac, and I'm so excited that I don't go to bed in time for work, that I wake up and I'm late to work, or I'll show up at work and I'll forget my bar key or my apron or my shoes. Like, you know, in certain jobs you have to have certain shoes, or I'll forget to put the right uniform on or the right dress code. I don't know. It's just like I'm all over the place. I've had a lot of jobs. Like, I've had probably, please employers, I hope none of you are listening, I've had 21 jobs since I was 17.
I've had a lot of jobs too. We have a lot in common. And the reason I asked that question, though, is I had Teresa Green on here, and she's also a female singer. And it seems like to me in these times, especially with social media, a lot of that anxiety and depression, or the negative feelings that women have, are from the expectations that they think are put on them because of the internet and because of all that stuff, and how there is a shorter timeline on making it. And it's weird. And we have a lot in common in the sense I had ADHD, so I took Ritalin and Adderall, but it always gave me that really weird feeling of being like I was on coke all the time, and I hated that. Like, I really hate that feeling. So for a lot of my college career, I struggled to a degree, especially with some of those upper engineering classes that I was taking at UMBC, because it wasn't that I wasn't smart enough to do it. It was that I didn't want to take the medicine, so it was hard to concentrate, and that would get in the way of me. So I could read something 20 times, but I'd still be thinking about something else, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And,
it's horrible. And I think like just failing constantly, or just never really getting what you want to get done. That's where my depression comes from. I just feel like I felt like for a long time, like I wasn't good enough, and I like no aspect of me was good enough. Like I wasn't a good family member, I wasn't a good daughter or a good sister, or I don't know, a good worker. Definitely, I get fired all the time, or a good roommate, or a good girlfriend, or whatever. And I definitely, like, at a time when my friends are settling down, having their children, and my parents and my family still are saying, you know, maybe you shouldn't have kids yet. Like, it's just like, they have no faith in me. You know what I mean? No, my friends are on their like third child, and my parents are still like, you should wait.
We're exactly the same, because I'm 30. I'm actually older than you. I feel like I'm a good 7 years older than you, and I'm at that point where I'm like, I get those same questions, and part of me, it's hard living in this society. That's why I asked the original question of, do you feel like there's that extra pressure? Because to me, I've always been comfortable being single or not having kids. There was a time where I honestly didn't even want kids to a degree, meaning like it wasn't that I didn't want them, but I wasn't willing to sacrifice being in a relationship that I felt was worthy to have kids and to take on that responsibility. It's just, it's hard when you were raised a certain way and you want to do good and you want to get out of here. Sorry, my dogs keep coming in here. When you want to be a good person and you're trying to, but then you see people that are cutting corners and are doing things differently, always succeeding and making it. And then, you know, when you're the bigger person about things, or you do it can get really hard and disheartening, you know, to really want to try and stay on that same path. But for me personally, I really want kids, but I really also want to be in a relationship that I'm on two different spectrums at this point in my life. I would either be really happy I want kids. So if there was someone that didn't want a relationship also, but wanted to have kids and wanted to look into that and co-parent and raise them together, I'd be perfectly happy with that and fine with that.
Mhm.
Then the other side of me is like, I also don't want to be, if I'm going to have kids, I want it to mean something. So if that means being single for the rest of my life, also because I don't find someone that just is at the point in their life. I think it's just about where you are in life, being on the same page, you know,
Yeah.
and wanting to grow and wanting to be with someone and knowing things aren't perfect. But at the same time, like I want to have a family, but I think it's hard to find someone that, you know, what I started to say was on the same page, because we're just expecting so much just based on social media of what we think a relationship should be, because everyone's posting all that bullshit, you know, oh, we're so happy and we're all this and that. And then they don't realize, look, it's not that easy. If you really want to make it, and my parents are going, I think it's their 50th. I'm pretty sure it's their 50th anniversary. They're going to Hawaii finally. And I'm really happy that they get to do that. But they've been together, and it certainly hasn't been easy. And I say that because I was there, and I can't imagine how difficult it was raising me and my sister, because we were both kind of...
I don't think marriage or commitment are ever easy, and neither is like having a child. And I just think, for example, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm not ready," and maybe financially I could see that, but aside from that, like, I just think no one's ever going to be ready. I feel like people have this idea that there's going to be some picture perfect moment where they're like going to be able to have children. And I just think that's a silly idea. I just think,
I would say 80% of babies are mistakes, in the sense of, like, it's not like you're sitting there trying to have a baby. Like, you had the conversation, we're trying to have a baby. I mean, you're in a relationship, you're married, you have sex, and then sometimes you get pregnant. And I feel like that's how most of them happen.
Right, exactly. So to me, for someone who's like, I actually would love to have a child, it's just funny that people are like, oh, well, you're in a band and you don't have a real quote unquote 9 to 5 job. Are you sure you should have a child? It's just like, come on, you didn't even want your kids and you had like 5 of them. So like, maybe don't just, people are like, oh, you have no idea what it's like. Well, maybe that's because you weren't ready for it. Like, I don't know. I really don't think.
I hate the parents that get on their high horse and they're always trying to look down or say things to you like you don't know. Like, you wouldn't know you don't have kids. I'm like, no, I don't have kids, but that doesn't mean I don't know, and that doesn't mean I wouldn't be a better parent than you, obviously, just by the way you're acting. But I hate that. I know. I see it so many times, or they walk around like they're so responsible because they happen to have a kid now that they're parents. And I'm like, dude, you're the same guy I remember from 2 years ago before you had the kid. You're no different. So, you know.
You're just doing what you need to do as a parent, and that doesn't make you special. That makes you a fucking parent. Like, that stuff pisses me off where people are like, I have to do this or that. Like, yeah, no shit. You had a baby. That's what it's like. Your life is never the same. Everything's about the child. No shit. It's like your child. You procreated. Like, I don't understand why people think this is such a life-changing, novel idea. Like,
or like you're so special. Like, it's some, you know. I mean, I love kids. Like, I love kids. I would love to have them, but again, I wouldn't want to just be in a relationship to be in one. I really want to find someone that gets it's about growing. And it's less about what you like about them and the things that you don't, and being able to deal with that and be accepting of it. It's hard to, again, I just think there's this ideal or perfect thing in our society where people can't fall in love because it's not their perfect match. Like, it's not the ideal thing they had in their head. When really it's like, does the person care about you? Do they support you? That's the biggest thing. I just want to find someone that supports me. Like, you don't always have to agree with me. You don't always have to be on the same page. In fact, I go into it knowing it's not always going to be perfect. But I will always support you as my partner and as someone I care about. I'll give you my advice and I'll tell you what I think. But ultimately, you know, it's 2 separate lives in one. You know, people think that you have to change, and I don't want to change the person. Now, obviously there's compromise and stuff like that. I mean, I think you have to, and you have to be open to communication, but I also think that you should be able to live your own life too. And I find that when I've dated people, just because I wasn't into something that they were, that would be like the end all be all for the relationship. And I'm like, wait, just because I'm not into it and I don't go, it doesn't mean I wouldn't go with you to do it, or that doesn't mean that I
Right.
wouldn't have fun doing it, but they're not open to like going to a concert with me. I've had a lot of people that I've gone to, and I don't know, I think there's something wrong with you if you don't like some sort of music or like
Right.
doing some sort of thing music related, because it's so involved with everything we do, even sports, whatever. And I've had relationships that don't work out because they don't want to go to the concert. I'm like, well, it's not about going, it's about spending time together, and you don't have to go, obviously, but just because I want to go alone because you don't want to go, then you get mad that I'm going without you. It's just one of those things where
Right.
it's hard. And I'm at that age where I'm too old for people in their mid to late 20s. I'm too, for me personally, I don't want to. I try to date within my range just because I feel like usually people grew up around the same time, so you have more in common. You're
Right.
closer. Now that doesn't mean because there's a lot of mature people. It really just depends on who the person is. But I don't know. I asked that question before. I was talking about children wanting a family because I definitely want one, and I do feel the pressure. I always get, not my immediate family, but when we go to like family outings and all my cousins are so smart and just good looking, smart, great people, kind people, and they all have great jobs and families. And I always feel weird because I'm like the one cousin that doesn't have a family. My parents have been so supportive in letting me pursue music and different things like that they haven't pressured me to go get jobs, even though I've had them in the past and I have my degrees, so I can easily go get one if I need to. But I just, yeah, I always get asked, are you dating anyone? Or are you doing, and it's such an awkward thing to me because I'm like, there's so much more to it than just, am I dating someone? I just haven't found anyone I connected with in that sense, or at least was willing to put down their guard and look at me differently in the sense of accepting everything of me, because I'm certainly not perfect, by any means, but I definitely am supportive and understanding and patient. And I feel like that's what every girl says they want. They're always like, oh, we want this. But then when it really comes down to it, or at least short term, it always ends up going with the guy that the rest of us are standing there, hit on her and like, oh, that guy's full of shit. But she's like eating up every single word, It's just weird. I've talked about it a few times, but it's in our notes, and I always like to get people's take on it. I don't follow politics as much just because I think I've gotten to the point where it's too left and too right, and there's
Right.
not enough. I am like you in the middle. Like I'm pretty much dead in the middle, and I actually kind of lean more conservatively. So I'm in the middle,
Yeah, same here.
kind of more conservative because yes, I smoke, and yes, I'm in music, and yes, I'm a creative, and I believe in treating people fair. I believe in being who you are and not judging. But I also think there needs to be order in the world, and we've proven that as a society we cannot function unless we have some order and laws, or everyone would be going crazy. At the same time, there's too much governing going on to the point where
I think there is.
Yeah,
I think there's too much freaking government. I'm a libertarian, so I'm like, I don't know. That pisses a lot of people off. That's why it's, especially as a musician, just even saying that you're not a Democrat in Cleveland as a musician is like a sin.
I know.
And you're liable to be ostracized, or people judge you and think you hate people, or like, I've been told that I was a racist. I've been told that I supported Trump because I refused to vote Democrat. So I really loathe those opinions. And I kind of loathe the concept of voting in general. Like, that's more of an anarchistic idea, though, which is, I guess, a kind of a pipe dream. But I just think, I think technically, like, if you look at it at a moral point of view, voting is organized mob mentality.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. That's more of a philosophical idea, because I don't think anarchy is going to be anything that we could actually accomplish in the next anytime soon. Like, in my lifetime, I don't think it'll ever happen. And there are so many problems with anarchy. And the moment two people come together and form a co-opinion, then you have a small government right there. So just the concept of anarchy doesn't really exist. I don't think I don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
At least not in my lifetime. I guess never say never, but
I don't know.
But I am a libertarian, and that's a lot to do with smaller governments and less regulation, and that's something I'm seriously about.
Yeah, no, me too. I definitely believe there needs to be less government and things, but when I said that, I mean like in the sense of I think there needs to be government, so we have laws, and I think government's too big. But it's never done. I think it would work if the laws and the things that we were doing were for the right reasons. Like if the Democrats were doing it because it was the best thing for the people, or the Republicans were doing these things because it was the best thing for the people, then having a government within a certain reason is reasonable, because people would take advantage of it. But the problem is people are taking advantage of it in the government. So I'm in the middle. And again, I don't believe, okay, so if I give an opinion, if it's not the same opinion as someone else, then it's automatically wrong.
Yeah, that's the echo chamber that we are forced to exist in, where it's like people respect and appreciate other people who share their same ideas.
Right.
People want to feel validated and hear their opinion regurgitated back to them. And if you don't have that same opinion, even if you're nonviolent, even if you're just calm about it, they really take that as like violence. Like certain people think that like my ideas of smaller government and less taxes are like violent ideas because it threatens their existence and their concept.
Threatens how they make money and how they take advantage of the system.
Yeah, or some people do that, but I just think like people think, well, that's horribly cruel. Like, how can you kick mothers off of welfare or whatever? And it's like, that's not what I'm saying. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But
no, not at all.
You're villainized immediately if you believe in smaller government.
Yeah.
And
I just think, to me, things aren't black and white. It doesn't have to be just because I feel like this way doesn't mean I can't feel another way too. For example, and I've said this on a few podcasts, is that being in the middle, and this is the best example I can give, when me and my dad were talking and he was like, well, what do you think about immigration and all this stuff, you know? And I think his assumption, and I don't know this, and I'm pulling this out of my ass, so I don't know how he felt, but, you know, I think he might have assumed that I was going to be for, you know, helping, you know, all the illegal immigrants and stuff like that, or having it. And on one hand, as far as morality, I think we need to treat people with respect. On the other hand, they came here illegally. Like, what do you want me to say?
Agree.
Like, I'm not for that. You know, you spent the time to adopt me, you signed the papers, you paid the money, and you waited and you put in the time. It takes 4 years to adopt someone. And they didn't know if they were getting a boy or a girl, and they spent tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to adopt. And, you know, I'm like, so how does that make you feel that you did it the right way? And I have a social security. Now there's other people that didn't do it the right way, and they're just allowed to do it. Now, I also think, again, on the morality side, okay, we understand it's wrong, and you can't just come in this country, but now there needs to be a way for these people to go through a process to apply. That doesn't mean they're going to be approved, but give them the option. So I don't understand. So it's always one or the other. It's like, no, we need to kick them out. I'm like, well, we don't need to kick them out, but we do need to. If they don't qualify, then they need to get out. But if they're if they're contributing to society, and they did it, you know, because I do believe in compassion. At the same time, I believe in laws and other things. And so another one is guns. I should be able to own a gun. I don't want anyone telling me I can't own a gun. At the same time,
exactly, I'm the same way. Yeah.
If I do,
if people are like, I don't feel safe when a gun is around. Why? Do you think it's just going to start shooting you? Like, it's not. It's like, do you feel?
It's responsible people, in my opinion.
Safe, yeah, it's like if I don't feel safe because I have a knife block next to my oven where I have all my kitchen knives, I'm very scared right now. Like, there's a knife block over here, guys. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I don't know. I think that those knives are all going to just start stabbing me. I'm just really nervous. Like,
I should be able to have a gun and want to own a gun, but at the same time believe that if I have kids one day, I don't want them getting shot in school, you know? So to me, but again, it's like, why everyone's so black and white, and so it's a political thing. It's not a society thing at this point. So nothing ever gets done. I think our world is too PC. I'll say that. That's basically in a nutshell. Like,
oh yeah, I just got kicked out of a Welcome to Night Vale group because I had the opinion that a trigger warning on a picture of teeth was really silly. Someone posted teeth in the group, like a picture of teeth that had little teeth inside of them. Yeah, teeth like in your mouth. I don't know if you've heard of Welcome to Night Vale. It's like a weird, creepy it's a creepy podcast. It's like a sci-fi kind of dystopian desert podcast. I actually love the podcast. It's awesome. It's fun.
I'm new to this podcast thing, so I only listen to maybe 2 or 3 of them. I need to start expanding it and starting to listen to some other ones.
Nate Vale's great. It's strange and unusual, and their fan group often post weird stuff. So someone posted a picture of teeth, and then there was this just person who was crying in the comments like, "This is disturbing, and you messed up my day, and you need to put
What?
trigger
But they're
warning."
in the group. You have to expect that stuff like that's going to be in there if that's, the point of the podcast, right?
Yeah, and I just thought, I was like, that's a little ridiculous, and I got banned because I just continued to state that, like, I find it to be
Funny.
just a really aggressive concept for you to expect someone to do X because you feel Y. Like, I don't like this, so you have to do that. And I
Right.
just think that's a really self-centered way to be, and I just find it to be obnoxious, and society is way over the top with their PC. Like, I do think in some circumstances a trigger warning could be helpful, especially in like gratuitous rape, child rape, or like blood,
Right,
like
of
serious
course.
death, murder, absolute horrifying murder and things like that. But teeth, we all have them in our mouths. Like, just stop.
Yeah, what
It's
the fuck,
so
man?
nauseating. It's
People
so
pay
annoying
to look
that-
at pictures of shark teeth.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I just think it's.
yeah.
I don't. People are like, "Well, you're a bitch," or "You're rude," and I was like, "Well, you're a sissy, I guess."
And it's
don't know.
weird. I think on one hand, we need to have a certain amount of public respect. Like I think we should be civil in public, no matter what we believe. At the same time, I don't like that I can't say anything without one person pushing some other agenda or side and not just saying, I see where you're coming from. Like,
Yeah,
just
people
because
like
I
to be-
say that doesn't make me wrong, or just because you have another
Morality
point.
police.
Yeah, and most of the time it's like we're both right in what we're saying, so neither of us are wrong. It doesn't have to be a wrong thing. Your point that you're making is right if it was under these circumstances and if it was under, that situation. What I'm saying is correct under the pretense of what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
just because
I
I
just
say
think it's
one
hard
thing
to
doesn't mean
be-
I'm wrong,
Yeah.
Ugh, people are annoying me.
Definitely-
Humans are so
right.
weird. Like, and that's probably why I'm single. I just gave up on humanity, and that's probably why now I just have pit bulls. Their dogs are the best.
There you go.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It's really difficult to be anything other than a Democrat in the Cleveland music scene. It's like,
and I hate that
that's
people
what I
think just
find.
because I was raised a Democrat and I'm under a Democrat means that I'm some fucking liberal that doesn't give a shit and is lazy too. Because I'm the complete
Right.
opposite of that. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yep. Like, people who are my Republican friends, that they think I'm a Republican, and I'm definitely not. So it's funny for them to be shocked by
Yeah,
it. Like,
you're not a Republican, but that doesn't
totally-
mean you're not going to vote for who you believe is correct either. So if that means
Yeah,
not
I
voting for
usually-
Democrats,
I usually end up voting for third party, and I definitely end up voting for people that you never hear from again, I guess. I don't
yeah.
know.
Well, I'm actually getting to the point where I'm really getting fed up with the Democrat side because they keep pushing these people that are just continuing the old way of doing things, Republican or Democrat. And I really
Yeah.
just want some more progressive ideas and stuff that's actually going to better our society and help us in that respect, and not just these short-term fixes like Trump's doing or anyone else, even Obama, everyone.
Right.
Like, it's just annoying. It's annoying because no matter what size, I obviously in different aspects, I view the DNC and the RNC as the same thing. It's the same thing. They're just pushing different ideas. That's the only difference. And I'm just ready for a change, but I don't think change is going to come anytime soon until the younger generation starts taking over, and the people that have been in power for long, like, naturally. That's the only way it's gonna happen, or if a big
Yeah.
war starts or something like that, or complete destruction of society somehow,
Yeah.
And it's scary and sad to think about that stuff, but it really
All we can do is just try to be active in our communities. I mean, I think, like,
Mhm.
especially as a libertarian, a lot of people think that just means screaming taxation and stuff. But I think
Mhm.
for me, it's more about, making sure that every state has the legal right to collect rainwater if they want to, making sure
Right.
that every city can house homeless people in their homes if they so choose, like, which is illegal in a lot of places in Ohio to house homeless people. Like, for example, a man was helping homeless sleep in his basement. He had sheltered about 15 homeless people in his basement on cots and was providing them sandwiches. and a warm place to sleep because temperatures were like in the negatives. And he was not, I think he was either arrested or fined.
That's crazy.
And they shut his operation down. And like, meanwhile, there was no place for those people to go. And I think that's when government fails us. And that's when I really get angry. And that's when I decide that we don't need government to be sticking their noses in every little aspect. Like no victim, no crime is huge for me. And another thing, like, I don't know if you've heard about that midwife, or maybe she's a doula in, I think it's New York. I don't really exactly recall where she lived. But she is, has over like 15 accounts of felony accounts because she illegally, well, actually, I don't even think what she did was strictly illegal, but she was helping people birth their babies, and they didn't use the hospital, or they didn't use certain like government standardized things. So she's being charged with like 33 counts of
for helping
felony
birth. I
ridiculous.
thought you're allowed to do that in the sense that maybe it's different by state, but I felt like I see people, especially rich people, they'll always just pay a private person to come to their house, and especially with those
I'm
the
not
tub
sure.
ones and all that stuff.
I would definitely like Google it for anybody listening.
Yeah, I'll have
like
to do some
midwife
research.
Charged with felony, just Google that, and
That's crazy.
it'll come up. It's pretty insane and like pretty rough. And those are the reasons why I'm a libertarian, is because we should be able to grow gardens in our front yards.
Yeah.
We should be able to legally collect rainwater. We should be able to, I don't know, paint our house whatever color we want. You know, like people getting ticketed for having pink houses. I think that's stupid.
Crazy.
Like,
yeah,
screw your neighbors. Your neighbors have no say over what color your house is. I don't care about stuff like that. I think that's really like that's just small.
I think we tend to care more about things that don't matter, like what we're talking about, as opposed to the things that do matter. And that's where government fails and comes short a lot of the times.
Yeah. I mean, for me, if you start in your community, you can always build up. And just allowing people to legally grow gardens in their front yard is going to help change the carbon footprint. It's going to help families be able to afford their own food. It'll help teach children about the ecosystem and have a new generation of children who can learn about the ecosystem. It's more sustainable for the earth. I mean, just little things like that. I just think like start local to change little laws that you think are wrong.
Yeah, that's so important. People were complaining about the last election as far as, I'm like, but you guys didn't come out and vote. You know, if you vote locally, that's the ones that ultimately have the responsibility of the electoral votes, because they're going based on their constituents. So if you don't come out and you don't vote, and you're not overwhelming and saying, okay, we're not going to vote for you next time if you vote that way, then nothing's going to change. And they just sit there and complain. I'm like, well, you know, that's what you get. You know, you can't just vote for the president. Once it's already whoever they picked. So, you know, you're not educated enough on the issues that really make a difference.
Right.
And it's impossible to do every single, you know, it's impossible to keep up with every single thing, but, you know, do as much as you can. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. I did not mean to go so much into other things, because I did have you on because I did want you to be able to promote the Dream Masons, but we'll certainly have you guys. I know we're working on trying to get you guys in the studio and have the whole band in here, so that'll be cool. Yeah, that'd be fun. So we'll have the video, and you guys can do a little acoustic sesh, and we can really have some fun and look up stuff online and react to videos, and you guys can meet my dogs, and we'll have some shows, so that'll be fun. But is there anything that you want to plug or talk about as far as the Dream Masons? I know you have a new single that we'll play here as well in a second.
We do. We have a new single called Lily of the Valley, and this has never been played live anywhere else before. So
that's awesome. Cool.
Yeah, premiere, I guess, here.
All right, so here is Lily of the Valley, and then we'll be right back. All right, cool. That was the new song "Lily of the Valley." Really, really good. I really love the melodies and the vocals in it. How did that come about? And is this stuff you've been working on for a while, or is it newer?
Yeah, so I actually started writing this song a couple years ago, and it wasn't until last year that we finished it up and then recorded it in the studio once we got an investor who really helped us get the wheels going again. Um, so that song is about a lot of different stuff, essentially um, just reclaiming your will to live is, I guess, the common theme, and loving the life that you have. But I was inspired to write that. I'm terrified of lightning, and lightning's mentioned a little bit in the song, as well as electricity in general.
I don't blame you,
If
though.
you, oh yeah, it's scary. Lightning sucks. I don't like the idea of lightning at all. But so a few years ago, I was out on the farm, which is where our practice space is. It's on a fruit farm. It's really pretty. It's awesome in the middle of kind of nowhere, so we could get really loud and do whatever. And I was walking out in the farm, and I had accidentally, like, I was out of it thinking of song lyrics. So I was like daydreaming, kind of walking along, and I had grabbed onto an electric fence that they put up to keep deer
Oh,
off
no.
of like the corn and the fruit or whatever, like not fruit there. I think it was
Right.
Brussels sprouts. I don't know. They just put up a little fence to make sure that the deer didn't get anything.
Right.
And I had grabbed onto it. It wasn't too high of a voltage. It was just enough to like scare the animals, but get through their pelt or their coat, their fur coat. So it definitely like shocked me, and I like kind of immediately fell to the ground and just like laid there for a
Oh, my
minute and
goodness.
observed. It was a beautiful sunny day, and I was out there like really grumbly before that about like not being able to get lyrics written and not being good at anything, and just like really kind of feeling sorry for myself and being really whiny, and so I had that experience, and I was sitting there like looking at it. Kind of just like forced me to stop getting electrocuted. Electrocuting myself forced me to stop and just lay there and think about like my life and how I should be grateful for the beautiful day, and how, you know, I just had a change in perspective. It like zapped
Mhm.
change in perspective into me, and I immediately started like coming up with more lyrical ideas, and took it into a really beautiful space about I don't know, just embracing the elements, embracing certain parts of the earth. I wanted the song to kind of feel like a magic spell. So the second verse, I use a lot of like herbal references and flowers, and Lily of the Valley is one of them. And I just wanted to mention like the beauty and things. And the song starts off with me getting electric shock. So it says, I felt my life fall over like a downward spiral. The pain radiated throughout my body. That's when I came to life. That's when I came back to life. And so that's kind of how that starts. Just like realizing your will to live and seeing the beauty in everything, and forgiving yourself for your flaws, and bravely challenging your fears to meet your goals.
Yeah, really cool. I really like that, and I look forward to the rest of it. Look forward to having you guys out here. So I guess they can follow you on social medias, the Dream Masons and Facebook and stuff like that. And do you guys have a
Yeah.
website?
We do, thedreammasons.com. Our email is thedreammasons@gmail.com. We also have an Insta, Facebook, TikTok, the whole thing.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much for coming on, and I really appreciate you taking the time. This was probably one of my my favorite episodes that we've done so far. So I look forward to having you back, and have fun at work later today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show, Josh. It was awesome. I can't wait to come and visit you in Baltimore.
Thank you.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much to Annastacia for calling in. I always have a great time talking with her off air even. We have so much in common, and we've kind of gone through a lot of the same things. So it's nice to talk to someone that just understands. You know, you don't always have to sit there and actually talk, but even just someone listening and you knowing that they know what you're going through can make a world of difference. So thanks again to her, and thanks for world premiering the new Dream Mason single. It's really, really great. We'll see you next time on the Just Josh podcast.